Just 30 seconds more. Okay, and we are live now. Very good evening to everyone. A warm welcome to all the viewers who have tuned in today. On behalf of the Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog team, I would like to welcome you all to join us today for this very exciting and important panel discussion on how can audio tech innovations ensure that the legacy of great Indian artists is carried forward. Recently, we have lost some great icons such as KK, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, Pandit Jasraj, Pandit Birju Maharaj, Lata Mangeshkar, and many others. They have contributed significantly towards furthering the legacy of Indian music, but they are no more with us. Today, we want to discuss how audio technology can help preserve the legacy of this great artist and how can audio tech help in promotion and propagation of national heritage, art, and culture, and help in preserving and furthering the legacy of our cultural icons and legends. This panel discussion is a part of the AIM ILeap program, which consists of 45-day sector-specific cohort designed to support startups in overcoming two bottlenecks, that is market access and investor access. The current Innovations in Audio Tech cohort is the fifth edition of the AIM ILeap program. In the past, we have conducted similar cohorts in four domains, namely fintech, cybersecurity, home-based healthcare innovations, fighting air pollution through innovation. In this four cohort, a total of 35 startups got a chance to pitch to about 90 plus investors, and we have made about 70 plus connections between the startups and the investors. So we had chosen the audio tech theme this time for the cohort as we observed that innovations in audio tech are on the rise and it's a booming area. As the innovation ecosystem builder of the nation, AIM's intention is to create a vibrant, innovative ecosystem by bringing together all the relevant stakeholders, such as audio tech startups, artists, cultural organizations, and the government. So without further ado, let me invite the panelists for today. Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, who will moderate the panel discussion. Ms. Durga Jasraj, founder of the Pandit Jasraj Cultural Foundation. Ms. Meenu Khare, Program Head, All India Radio Lucknow. Mr. Mahesh Raghavan, Music Producer, Live Performer. And not but the least, Mr. Srijan Deshpande, Performer, Researcher, Teacher, and Archivist, Hindustani Raag Sangeet. May I now request Dr. Chintan, Mission Director AIM, to carry forward with the panel discussion.
Thank you, Anurag. I hope you can hear me all well. And thank you to the panelists for joining. Also to Praful Bhai, who has for many years led the Saptak work at Saptak. And our team at AIM, some of whom are also with us. Let me start by saying how we arrived here. So you know that India has close to 71,000 startups now. Now, there is one ongoing conversation in this context at the Niti Aayog and generally in the circles of the government that are we able to do deep tech type of work? In other words, not just copies of some startups somewhere reproduced in India, but working on areas which really require some rigorous work in science and technology to come up with a solution, right? All of us have recently experienced the power of one such idea, which was the COVID vaccine, which took rigorous work, scientific work, to arrive at something that saved the humanity. Now, so the question is, why is that happening in other domains? If it's not happening, why is it not happening? And so on. And in that conversation, once I happened to voice the opinion that it is not that India is not capable of pursuing depth. That's obviously not true, right? If you look at the area of arts, we have pursued enormous depth. And so how can we bring that culture to, say, science and technology, right? So that was one question. The other question was that uh, uh, a lot of the startup related dialogue also is a very science tech dialogue. It has not been merged with the idea of arts in any systematic way. So we thought, why don't we take one of our platforms and get going on it? And that's where this idea of audio tech innovations anchoring them came about, right? Now, um, the idea of today's panel of preserving the art works of art and the artistic traditions using technology to do that. That is, as Anurag mentioned, with a loss of many giants in the past year, including, even Rajan Mishra ji or Ramakant Gundecha ji and so on. Is a it's a great way to celebrate their lives, to look at how technology could help preserve the wonderful work that they produced and gifted to us. Um, but it's also something that has a very interesting positive side, which is that there is a tremendous market in some ways in doing all this work as well, right? So this is what our startups are chasing. So this is sort of we are in between this preserving culture on one hand and creating a large market on the other hand, so that is what we wanted to explore in the panel today. Um, I should start with a very quick anecdote that. Some years ago, maybe it was late mid 90s, I was at the HMV store in Bangalore, and I was buying the album Call of the Valley for a friend. Now, Call of the Valley, as you know, is the only platinum disc in the Indian classical music. I think that record remains true even today. And he showed me two cassettes. He said, "Here's one for 45 rupees, and here's one for 200 rupees." So I said, what is so special about 200 rupees? The same artist, same tunes, everything is the same. And he said, well, but this is digital. It's recorded digitally. And I said, so what does that do? And I had just entered engineering. And he said, well, I don't exactly know, but this is better. Later on, I learned that, well, Nyquist had shown us that if you have an audio signal and you sample it at a certain higher than a certain frequency, and you can produce their magnitude into numbers, then you can preserve it, and you can preserve it forever. That is why digital mattered, right? So such things now are happening in along many dimensions. So let's get started, and let me open this up by just asking a question of each of you to relate your work to the vision of the technology, because we want people to know what kind of market segments exist and what types of things people are trying out. So shall we start with a question to Durgaji? Okay.
Sure.
So you have just established the Pandit Jasraj Cultural Foundation on the occasion of the 92nd birth anniversary, his 92nd birth anniversary. So one question here is that what is your vision for technology in this context? Are you thinking about technology? Are you thinking about other ways of preserving the legacy? Can you please say a little bit about it?
Well, first and foremost, I think both of you, Anurag ji and you, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav ji, both of you have given the context and set the mood of this whole panel discussion in a extremely competent and a very in-depth manner. So, congratulations. And it really feels like we are here with people who really know the subject, and hoping that we can all dive deep to find newer answers. And thank you for making me part of this with such eminent people and talented youngster like Mahesh. He's married to my friend's daughter. So, talking about technology first and foremost, I'd like to quote my father here, that he, coming from a generation where his generation of musicians were all averse to technology and using technology for, it could be for archival values or for anything for that matter. Even in these times when, during lockdown, when he was kind of stuck in America, he used the digital platforms to even perform or even to teach continuously. So he was singing till the very, very end, if I may say so. But the thing is, one simple question that actually he said 2 years ago, before, when we were just sitting here, and he said, people keep talking about technology, kya hai, and why should we technology say, the purity is lost. He said one very, very simple, and most of you are here who are into music, so I'm sure you'll understand. He's saying, agar technology nahi hoti, to microphone bhi nahi hota. And without a microphone, we were only addressing 30 to 50 people in a closed room, and we said, oh, bahut log sunte the, and probably they sat there for 7 to 8 hours or maybe more. He's saying, but with the mic, you are singing and reaching out to more than 5,000 people, could be 10,000 people. So technology is an enabler. It actually, first and foremost, technology enhances. It's something that helps you reach out to innumerable people, to faceless people, people who love your music and art, and you don't need to know each one of them. So it is by far the biggest help. It is something that supports the art. So I'd like to begin with that on a very positive note, that technology should be looked upon as it is something that is here to support you, to help you out, to reach to millions and billions of people. And talking about the launch of Pandit Jasraj Cultural Foundation, but much before that, I'd like to talk about the company that we have run for more than almost 20, 24 years by now, or maybe 25 years, Art and Artists. So in that, we have always used technology, or I can also say technology can also be looked at as media or mediums. So when you talk about mediums, we have always made sure that we have presented Indian traditional music on all possible platforms, be it live concerts, going live on YouTube or Facebook, and so on and so forth. We have used television, be it on Doordarshan National and all the entire bouquet of Doordarshan, Zee TV. We've gone on Hindi speaking, Hindi television, ZTV, and also to 165 countries on Z platform, also using All India Radio and reaching out. So the idea and the entire objective of Art and Artists has always been to be the bridge between good music, fabulous artists, and being the bridge using the media platforms, if they can be called as technology, because they're all without technology you cannot reach. So this has been the vision, and that has actually helped us reach out to billions of people, if I may so say so. In first year of lockdown, on 22nd March 2020, we started with a Facebook Live and an Instagram kind of a interview based on Instagram. And within 1 year of just using it, from 22nd March 2020 to 21st March 2021, we had crossed more than 6.8 billion impressions. And that's a serious number. 6.8 billion impressions on Facebook and YouTube. I mean, YouTube was actually hardly a play, but mainly on Facebook and a bit on Instagram. since I was new on Instagram, but Facebook, yes, it played a great role. So these, when you get to that, when you see the numbers, you see the interest, you see the people that you connect, um actually opens the doors, opens your mind to the fact that we don't need to fear, because I have always believed in the next generation, and that's one of the reasons that as art and artists, we have always worked with newer artists more, because there are only those, like, just like the Indian cricket team, you can only have those 11 players playing the India team. Rest of them, the pyramid is comprises of younger talented people. So in that process, we worked with we are in some Limca book of records for working with maximum genres of Indian music, traditional music, be it Hindustani, Carnatic, Sufi, Ghazal, Bhajan, Qawwali, Kirtan, Haveli Sangeet, the folk music of India. So we worked with more than 45,000 musicians and counting. And that when you put the right talent on a right platform, which is you can call that platform technology empowered, you will see the results, and the audience is ready to lap up. You should be doing things for the right intention is also something that the audience catches. So for me, coming together of all these things makes the ecosystem work. And when ecosystem comes together is when you actually, with your support, we will have the money coming through into this, and then you see a newer heights, newer dimensions opening up. So there are many aspects to technology. One is this: I would treat media very much as something that actually projects. And another example, which is actually I would say technology and a creativity, I would always choose technology is nothing without creativity. You need to marry the two. It's about what you want to communicate, how you want to communicate, to whom you want to communicate to. So for me, I like to give you an example of Hyderabad festival. My father always did for his as a homage to his father, and later on to his elder brother. So it was called Pandit Motiram Pandit Maniram Sangeet Samaharo, and he did it for 47 years. And as because his only real, just very faint memory was with his father in Hyderabad. So it always happens in Hyderabad. So on 30th of November, the day my grandfather passed away, when my father, Pandit Jasraj was only 4 years old. So that's the only date he knows, and he doesn't know anything. So he started to do a festival around that day, 30th of November, and about a 5-day festival, which he did all on his own steam. So, you know, so for 47 consecutive years, and being Pandit Jasraj, he had to forgo a lot of temptations of a very, very lucrative concert or some, high profile, high power dinner at the president house or something and everything. He just did cut out all those things, and he did it year after year for 47 years consecutively. So when in 2020, 30th of November, and around that, we did a 2-day festival, which was a physical and a digital festival, because for the first year, we had to use the social media even more so that we could connect with people, because usually people would travel from across the world to be part of this festival. While doing so, the most important question was, who will perform on 30th of November, now that Bapuji is physically not there? Trust me, there was a voice inside, which I call it like a guiding voice. I mean, not my gut feeling it. I always felt like I got my answer. कि बापूजी ने 47 years तक अपना commitment रखा है. अब ये commitment हमारा. He will continue to perform on 30th November, come what may. Why should it change just because he's not there? So now the 48th year and 49th year, by grace of God, we've already done. And first year we did his live performance with 12 live musicians. And on the 48th year, we did it with 20 musicians and he performing live. And it was also synchronized and everything. And it became a rage. And I mean, now it's going to be more and more challenging, which is a happy challenge only now because it's a creative process. It's not something, there's no formula to it, and it should never be a formula. But now here you see, for me, to keep the audience glued is always my biggest focus, because the artists will get the impetus, get empowered and all the positivity if the audience is there in the right measure and right size. And also the next generation of audiences. While you talk about next generation of musicians, there's umpteen talent, nothing to fear. The thing that we really need to work upon is to get the right audience in right numbers and to keep them glued and entertained. So when they are there in that, or when that kind of audience turns up, then the creative process has to be extremely strong. So for me, this is another way that I think of creating. While everybody, all I think 95% of my messages when Bapuji passed away or the calls was like, Pandit Jasraj is immortal. Yes, that is true. He's created history of his kind, which is unique. He's in his own league, no comparisons. How do you continue to keep the audience live in an auditorium, and if I may say so, more than 3,000 people or 4,000 people, while he performs live, while the interactivity between his accompanying artist or his co-artist, I would rather say, not accompanying artist, is the challenge. And that is one of the main things I think will go a long way. For me, 2 years already done, third year now, it's November already, but my mind is working so overtime. What is it, how bigger and how much more interesting, and what are the other aspects of bringing him alive? So I think I've answered more than what you have asked for, but there are many ways of looking at technology and music, and not looking at archives, looking them
Yeah.
look experiencing the live music part is very, very important with Indian classical music or Indian traditional music.
So I think, Durga, you have opened up this conversation to many other dimensions, which is lovely. But I think the most important thing that you've done is to send a message that technology is not something to fear. It is something here to help us. That's extremely important as a message, because there's a lot of conversation about how technology will come and replace this and replace that and replace these jobs and all of that. I remember there was a panel discussion once at MIT where Yo-Yo Ma was there along with some economists and scientists. And at the end of this panel discussion, he just played his cello and asked a few questions of the audience. And he said, "Well, could a machine, if a machine had these emotions, would I be excited about playing to it? Possibly not." So I think there's a lot to be done here. I also want to highlight a couple of other things that you said. One is, and forgive me for identifying market segments, which I plan to do all along, because in the audience are several startups who are working on audio tech. Last week, we had a demonstration by over 25 startups who have done some wonderful work in audio tech.
Amazing. Oh, he's stuck.
These yes, keeping the audience glued is one market in some ways. If you can create technology that keeps the audience engaged and glued, that's beautiful.
That will be the main market.
So
That will be the
that's
main
the
market.
main market. That is the main market, right? So here you go. You have given them the main market. You also referred to, I mean, in arts and artists, thank you for all that wonderful work. You mentioned one of your channels, which is really our oldest and the most pervasive channel of our nation, All India Radio. So let's go to Meenu and talk about All India Radio a little bit. So what kind of technologies, Meenu, All India Radio uses these days to, first of all, sort of produce music, archive music, and also from the perspective of preserving the legacy, if you want to say something, and is it working with startups in doing any of these things?
Thank you so much, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav. And I feel really honored to be on this panel. And when I saw Durga Jasraj I felt really nice because I just recalled of my, my first posting in All India Radio was at All India Radio Varanasi. And when I used to cover the Sankat Mochan festival overnight, outdoor broadcasting recordings, I really remember. I remember the morning rendition of Indian classical music by Pandit Jasraj ji. We used to wait for hours and hours. I felt very nice to see Durga Jasraj ji. So now I come on our own work, what All India Radio is doing right now. We have been for a very long time, we were the only channel and only media in the country. And at present, we have 420 AIR stations, which are every day they are broadcasting various types of music. Maybe sometimes it is Indian classical music, not only Indian classical music, but also Sugam Sangeet, that is, Ghazal, Geet, Bhajan, and traditional folk music. I myself, I am a folk music artist, and I work upon various folklores that are very rare, and I have been compiling some of the rarest folk lores which were never recorded, which were never compiled, never written in any book. And those folklores are like Alha, but they are Khunkhuniya, Dhirva, and Mahe Parsu, Lorikayan. These are some of the folklores, and I feel really nice that All India Radio has been it is such a medium that we work upon compiling various music. And once if we talk about our archives, technology, what sort of technology do we use nowadays? We are totally on digital platform. We are doing digital recordings in our studios, in our day-to-day recordings. They all are done on digital in digital manner, and they are broadcast also digitally. And we are using the latest technologies in our studios, and we have a very, very rich archive, that is national archives as well as local archives. I at present I am posted at All India Radio Lucknow, and I feel really honored when once I was working in my library archival place. I just went and I found some of the recordings of Begum Akhtar ji. When I had a very, very good interview when she is doing her riyaz and everything. That is our archive. And we have produced a very, a document which has got national award as well. So, I would like to tell you about some of our programs which are which help in uh, archiving various very, very top level artists. That is National Program of Music. National Program of Music is broadcast every Saturday from 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. We have a legacy of having Pandit Jasraj ji, Pandit Bhim Sen Joshi ji, Siddheshwari Devi ji, and everyone, I think Bismillah Khan Sahab, and not even a single artist can be spared which whose recording is not at the archival library of All India Radio. So we have all those recordings were very old, and now they have been digitized, and so they are on digital platform as well. We have released some of the CDs of our artists, like Girja Devi ji, and so many artists, and they are very popular. The people come and ask, in many book fairs and festivals, we have our stalls of All India Radio, where so many CDs are sold by our stations at many, even at Lucknow, even at so many stations in so many cities, because we have 420 stations of All India Radio across the country. So we have our nowadays, what are we doing? We are doing for suppose Sunday night concert or national program of Sunday night concert, we broadcast every Sunday from 9:30 to 11, and this is national program is on the Saturday. We have our own YouTube channel, that is Akashvani AIR. It has 83.4K subscribers, and we have on it 5.4K videos. So that is, we are trying our hard to preserve all sort of music, which are traditional music, be it classical music or semi-classical or traditional folk, or we have we are working on the popularization of music as well, because nowadays things are changing. We had long hours of classical music, but things are changing. We are switching over to FM mode of presentation. People don't have that time for hours to sit and listen to great artists. So we are trying with at Lucknow, with our Drupad artist, we are trying to develop a youth Drupad band. Drupad band. Band is something which is very popular amongst youth. So I have consulted my Drupad artists, because we have a panel of artists. Every station of All India Radio, we have a huge panel of artists. We have at Lucknow, we have more than 8 top grade artists, and so many. We have we don't have we only we have not only senior artists, but we are trying to promote upcoming generations also, and the upcoming generations are popularization of music amongst youth also, we are working upon. That is why we broadcast Subadh Sangeet, that is a classical music segment just for 5 minutes, and any by great artists as well as upcoming artists and new artists. So that is very popular. I think we are trying to adjust ourselves. We are trying to modify our working in such a way that people listen to music, because nowadays you cannot ask all the youngsters to sit and just to listen old recordings. But we are trying to through our live concerts, through our studio concerts, through our live music show, through premiering our all our music programs, like national programs and Sunday night concerts, we are premiering our videos also at our YouTube channel. So all the recordings are there, which are broadcast from our various stations, not only the central station, that is our headquarters at All India Radio Delhi, but from various other stations. We are working at All India Radio Lucknow from 7:30 to 8 every day. We broadcast classical music, and from 10:30 to 11 in the night we broadcast rare classical music, and so many good recordings from our archives also. So I think that we are using the latest technologies, and to preserve these recordings, as well as we are using social media and the latest technologies, so that to promote and to popularize traditional music. And we had a mega project on folk music. On under that mega project, we have compiled folk music, traditional folk music from various villages. I myself have gone to so many villages, and we have recorded more than, I think, more than 25,000 folk music songs have been compiled by All India Radio under mega project. So we are working upon, I myself have I think I have compiled at least 1,000 of very rare songs, and before they vanish, before no one knows about those songs, you know, Chaheli is a traditional folk music of Baiswara region of Uttar Pradesh, near Raebareli. So Chaheli are phag songs, that is होली वाले जो गीत होते हैं, but Chaheli is a very very different style of rendition. So I have worked upon it, and I'm still meeting artists and using technologies, as well as using management of human resources. We are trying to preserve the traditional music, be it classical, be it ghazals, be it any sort of music. We are trying to promote it, and I think anyone, you know, we had this Akashvani Sangeet Sammelan. That was one of the most prestigious Sangeet concert festival, which used to go for more than 1 month, complete 1 month, every day, you know. It used to start with Pandit Bhimsen Joshi ji, or sometimes from Pandit Jasraj ji. So it was our most prestigious concert, but due to COVID, it was stopped, and we are planning to start it in near future. We have to promote music amongst youngsters. We used to do a competition for youth competition, but Akashvani Yuva Pratyogita, but due to COVID, it was also stopped. So in maybe near future, we go for it. We used to do, we are using best of the technologies. I think if you go on our channel, you can listen to so many good archival recordings. And even at Lucknow, we have our own channel. So we are trying to provide with the best music we have, and we are trying to popularize music and promote music with the help of technology. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Meenuji, and thank you to All India Radio for all their work. I have to say that I have certainly been enriched by the collection of CDs that you have put out, such as, Baba Alauddin Khan Saab's CDs. I mean, who will have them? I also have to say that my own teacher, Jagannath Jagtap ji, used to be a Pakhawaj player for Fayaz Khan, and then also used to be an artist at All India Radio. So there were a number of them who were such amazing artists, who were again patronized in a way post-independence by them.
I would like to say one more. I would like to add one more thing, that we have radio biographies also, radio autobiographies also. For these are 6 hours long archival recordings, which have a whole story. They are like autobiography of any artist. So I'm very lucky that I have arranged. At Lucknow, we have arranged Pandit Baba Ram Shankar Das Pagal Das ji, and at Varanasi, we have arranged Bismillah Khan Sahab and Girja Devi ji. So many good, autobiographies, radio autobiographies are there, which are really rare things now.
That is amazing. And so may I, it's really great to hear about the innovations in format, because this is how a test match has become an IPL, right? So this is what we are trying to do here, and to match the taste of the young people. And one thing there I would like to mention is that since you have 420 stations across the nation that you mentioned, if a place like Atal Innovation Mission could work with you, we could open up these stations to our innovators. In other words, the programs that have stopped because of COVID, maybe young people can help you take them online and also engage, keep the audience glued, as we were talking about.
No,
Uh,
during COVID also we had this online programs, online concerts also. But these, Akashvani Sangeet Sammelan were the concerts which were organized in various auditoriums, and that were real good. So
yeah.
maybe that in near future we do it again.
Yeah, so I think, a lot of people would be willing to engage with you. As I mentioned, the 70,000 startups, at least a few of them will be audio focused. And so let's talk some more about archives. And let's go to Srijan. Srijan has been doing a lot of work in terms of research, teaching, and in a variety of ways. And I was most curious, Region, to know that what are some of the out of the box, what you would call innovations that you have seen in audio techs that you love and you'd like to talk about?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I think all the eminent people on the panel here are approaching this from their own vantage points. So I engage with music in many ways, but today I'd like to focus on two very specific things, research and teaching, right? I mean, we heard from Durga ji and from Meenu ji about the sheer volume of content that is there on social media now. So Durga ji, through the incredible, I'm a follower, Durga ji, of your channel, so we know of art and artists and everything. So we know how much music comes out there, and you're absolutely right when you say there's a tremendous amount of talent. You have people like Mahesh ji who put out, so much incredible new music, and then there's All India Radio. The problem that I see that someone like me grapples with every day as someone who is a student of this music and an educator who works with this music is that what to do with the sheer tsunami of content that you have everywhere online now. That's why I think while archiving is an important thing, of course, I think what has become even more important now is curation, is how to handle this content, how to make sense of it, and how to present it in a digestible format to various, Chintanji, to use your terminology, market segments or demographics, or however one would like to put it. The title of this panel is how do we take the legacy of our great masters forward? I think one important thing that we need to think about is how do we understand their greatness? How are these people great? And I think archival material, and by archival material, I don't only mean old recordings. We live in an era where everything is archived. So this, our conversation as we speak, is being archived right now, right? So on the one hand, we have a massive amount of old and new data. And on the other hand, you have a very scattered and very vast base of listeners who are always grappling with what to listen to next, or what to listen to within whatever it is that I'm listening to. So I might have a huge collection of Fayaz Khan Saab, Kesar Bhai Kirkar, Abdul Karim Khan Saab recordings, or even recordings of today's musicians. And I'm listening to a 1 hour performance and I don't know what is going on in there. And I'm talking about this at various levels, from the point of view of an academic, a serious musician, a student of music, a performer, even a lay listener. So in our way, at our small scale, one way we've been trying to tackle this is the archives I work at, and Praful Anubhaiji was here a minute ago. I've worked with him at the Saptak archives as well. So one thing we're trying to do is to create a very detailed musicological catalog, as I'd like to put it, where we try to capture musical nuances in using modern technology. And by modern technology, I mean databases, essentially. And so you have stuff like Airtable and all sorts of, let's not go into specifics, but you can capture really fine-grained detail and make it filterable, searchable, sortable in very interesting ways. The point of all this is basically, if we can use technology, and specifically if we can use big data to really dive deep into what music is, into what has been happening historically in music making, and what is happening today, we'll be able to come up with really fascinating ways of understanding our legacy, right? Now, I am, through my research work and my performative work, I am involved with a number of such research projects that are happening in India as well as abroad. So I'll give you a couple of examples. These are people I'm associated with or I plan to be associated with through research projects in the near future. So you have at IIT Bombay, there is something that's going on that's called the Comp Music Project. It's a collaboration between IIT Bombay, IIT Chennai, and the University of Barcelona, where they're using signal processing to basically look at music information retrieval. So how do you take a recording and can you identify rag, tal, this and that, all of these musical details automatically through it? Again, their intention, it's a difficult problem to crack, but their intention is to make processing this humongous amount of musical data, to automate it, to make it a little easier, right? On the other hand, I'm working with people in the US. So at the University of California, Santa Cruz, there are some people who are working on creating a new notation system that is visual, so in the sense that it bases itself on actual musical data, on actual analysis of the sound signal, but it is represented visually so that even people who are not trained musically can make some sense of it, right? I am currently about to work probably the next year on a very exciting project, again in the US, with someone at the University of Davis, where we're thinking about looking at the neuroscience of creativity in Hindustani music, in traditional Hindustani music. So we talk about Hindustani music being creative. It's an improvised music. Artists compose spontaneously at the spur of the moment based on a grammar that comes from tradition. So what is this neurologically? What is this in terms of vocal acoustics? So there is a lot of scope for very solid technology and science-based research that needs to be done. But what tends to happen, and especially so in India, is that these kinds of research projects are very small and far between. And when they happen, they are rarely supported very well in terms of infrastructure, ecosystem, and funding. So that's something that I would say is an important point that we can think about. And the other thing is that a lot of people like me, myself, now, if I want to do this kind of research, I live in India, I sing Hindustani music, I've learned from good gurus here, but I'm tempted to go abroad to do this kind of research because we just don't have the kind of ecosystem, a research ecosystem in India. So that is something, building that I think is absolutely crucial, and where that can happen. So what attracts me personally about the West is a university ecosystem, which is where this work happens, that they have, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you is extremely strong there. And in the arts, we tend to lack it even more. So if you look at the university ecosystem, academic ecosystem in engineering or in management, or in medicine, it's very strong in India. I'm not the right person to say, but that's the sense I get. But in the arts, in the performing arts, critical, empirical, deep research work, leveraging technology, and not only technology, in fact, I'd say technology is one dimension, but if you, like the other people have been saying, unless you pair it with historical humanities studies, with sociological angle, it remains incomplete. So I'll give you one example of a project we did with Saptak. So we collaborated with the India Foundation for the Arts, which is a Bangalore-based grant-making organization. And they have this beautiful scheme where they support scholars who would like to go and work at archives. So they provide the financial support for a scholar to spend, say, 1 year at Saptak Archives or maybe at All India Radio, where they would work on a set of recordings and they would draw insights from it and then present that in a very interesting, publicly consumable format. So I did that, me and a colleague, we worked on a Masters of the Agra Gharana, and our intention was precisely what the title of this panel is, that how do we understand and present and preserve the legacy of these masters. So you see, it's not only about preservation, literally, that's an important part, of course, it's about preservation in a curatorial sense, by transmitting these values, these musical principles and techniques to future generations. So the research work we did at Saptak and at Samvad Foundation, our own archives, this resulted in a series of podcasts and videos in which we present in a very conversational format, research-based insights about the musicians of this gharana. So what I suppose I want to say is that I find two things perhaps we could focus on: creating a research ecosystem so there can be very deep data-driven work that draws on the sciences and technology as much as on performance studies and on the humanities, history, sociology, these disciplines, to create really well-rounded and really comprehensive perspectives on the music of the masters and on tradition. That's one thing. And then drawing upon this academic deep data to create educational material for public consumption that can sort of disseminate our traditional values and our new values that are coming into tradition now. Let's not just look back all the time, you know, and to disseminate that to the public. And what is exciting to me is that this disseminated educational material be research based, right? So yeah, so I mean, just to touch on what the other people have been talking about. So Durgaji mentioned that they have so many million views and so many billion views on Facebook, for example, or Maheshji is using the latest technology, iPad and everything, to create new music. So as a musician, this excites me. You know, that can I use the iPad in my own music? You know, what can I do with it? But as a scholar and a researcher, this excites me in a very different way. I'm very curious to know what is going on here. So of these millions of people who are listening to Hindustani music on Instagram or Facebook in 2022, what are they listening for? What appeals to them? What doesn't appeal to them? How are tastes changing? And these are the kinds of inferences we can really arrive at in a very concrete fashion using research. So, and then based on this research, it becomes possible to create really incredible, I'm sorry, I have lost electricity, but really incredible modes of dissemination and archival tools. Am I still audible?
Yes.
I had a,
yes,
okay.
you are still audible.
Okay.
You said
Yeah, so
tools last. Yes.
Right. So just one last point before I wind up. The other part, so where the ecosystem where all of this can happen primarily, I think, is a university ecosystem. So Chintanji, you're talking about startups, but I think one thing you should consider certainly is university performing arts departments, supporting those departments in some way so that they encourage good research. And the other big thing we need to do, I think, in a very, very big way is teacher training. You know, so one beautiful aspect of our tradition is that we inherit musical values, performance techniques from our gurus, and we transmit them to our students. We take pride in the fact that this is an oral tradition. So that is wonderful. But I think that needs to be supplemented now by training teachers to effectively and productively use technology, to use archives in an informed manner. Yeah, I was saying to use, So I was saying that what we need to do in addition to that is to train our teachers to use technology in an informed manner, to collaborate in developing new educational tools, which I think is very crucial to make the consumption and dissemination of this music possible. That, I think, would be my 2 cents. Thanks.
Wow. Srijan, this was that was really eye-opening. Actually, you opened up a whole dimension to this conversation.
Thank you.
I mean, this whole question of how do you understand what does it mean to be great? Why is a great is such a deep question. I mean, it sort of reminds me of Ustad Amir Khan, who said that, you know, when music begins to make sense to you, silence becomes more important than sound. You know, I mean, things like that. How do you show it in data? How do you make people realize it? So in fact, the other thing that you did in what you said is really going back to my very first opening remarks on how you know we've been able to achieve depth with perseverance in arts, but we're struggling to do that in science and technology and many domains in a way in our nation. You have actually broken that argument into 2 parts. Well, one is that when it comes to performing and learning, we are able to achieve depth in arts. But when it comes to researching and you know, that's where, and teaching, there I think we still don't have the modern tools helping us in any serious way. So I think that's really very, very helpful.
If I can, I'm sorry, if you don't mind, if you have a little time, just one point I'd like to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Durgaji mentioned what Jasrajji used to say, Pandit Jasrajji used to say about purity. right? कि एक संगीत की purity. Now, this is the kind of thing that great legends of our music would often say. They would often find that there is this certain purity that they remember or that they produce in their own music or that they remember their gurus telling them about, that they sometimes are anxious whether or not it's getting transmitted to the next generation. Now, as a recipient of this tradition, as someone sitting in 2022, I hear these masters saying this and I wonder, what do they mean by that? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, someone might interpret purity to be shuddhata of swar. Someone might interpret purity to be maintaining the tradition in a pure form, right? And what happens from a researcher's point of view is that the various disciples of one guru will interpret what the guru says in 10 different ways. Okay.
Yeah.
But from a non-biased third person perspective, as a scholar, can we look at what that ustad, what that legendary musician meant by purity? So this is what I mean by saying by research. And what I'm trying to do in my work also, I could say, I think Durga ji wants to say something, but can I just say is that I just want to say that the kind of technology, and in very practical terms, the kind of audio analysis technology, for example, the kind of data analysis technology we have now, really, really allows us to reach very concrete solutions and answers to these problems and to create better questions. Durga ji, I'm sorry. Yeah.
There is nothing like this is it, ye pure hai, and this is it. There's no other dimension to purity. Luckily in music or performing arts or even fine arts, it's about the perspective, right? Every artist, every gharana, every big artist, or even if a good guru will think purity is this, or in a particular manner of presentation, or a particular manner of the mood the rag may create, because you're talking about a specific purity. That's why I'm diving into the classicism of our music, which actually is for each and every person to interpret. Even while listeners, the artist must be thinking something else, and the listener could be completely taken to the seventh heaven and above, but still he may have a different perspective from the performing artist. So it's already always between the performer and the listener. Music is something in between. So there is nothing, there are no rules for purity. What I really think about purity would be, is about, like, for instance, when my father was initially criticized a lot because of the softness and the way he would develop or explore a rag in 3 octaves and 3.5 octaves, and there are a couple of times he even touched 4 octaves while performing. What he said, in purity was कि अगर mic नहीं होता, I remember that discussion so vividly, and this was just very, very recent. So he said, mic नहीं होता तो दरबारी का रूप ही अलग था. क्योंकि people used to sing in Kali Teen and Safed Teen, and also basically you're starting at such a high octave कि आपका खर्च का काम है zero. Not because they couldn't imagine, it was only because they needed to be heard. They needed to sing at a higher pitch, like I'm using my voice right now because I don't have a mic. I'm forcing my vocal cords to reach out on this device so that I'm heard by the panel, and there's not like, please, we can't hear you and all. The softness, the usage of mic, which he really changed the dimensions, and that Pandit Kumar Sharma ji said the other day also, कि वो जो softness आया राग दरबारी में, कि जो खरच का काम है, that whole thing, the usage, which actually has translated and changed the entire persona of that rag, if I may say so. Which now for people, many, the next generation and 3 generations after him, or maybe more, are looking at Darbari like that. But does it mean that people before him, when they perform Darbari in that way, is not pure? It is. The situation changed. Technology was used by Bapuji better than anybody else. Maybe the mean calm, which Mahesh is using through his iPad, that whole mean calm ghaseet, the whole usage of the nuances, the literally the aesthetics changed of rag presentation, the people getting completely emotional, immersed, is a lot to do with how he looked at technology very, very early in life. He never saw that as something that was a hindrance, and he never followed his gurus blindly. For that, you also have to be very progressive. What I said, people of his generation his generation, if you pick up any interview, people of his generation have always looked upon technology as distractors or people who dilute purity. He was really progressive in that manner, and that will always happen. There'll be people who, in generations after generation, there'll be somebody who will see things differently and change the course of listening and producing music and presenting music. So that way, and I think Srijan, you spoke beautifully about a lot of things, and we are so much on common ground. I didn't speak of the many subjects that you spoke about, but I'm very impressed with your thought process and the forward looking way using research analysis and everything. So I think this is a very, very good forum, and I must congratulate Anurag and Niti Aayog and Atal Innovations and everybody. Chintanji, you're doing great job, but by getting us together, because this is what is needed. First कि एक मंथन हो, चिंतन मंथन हो, आपका नाम चिंतन है. This is very important. And I'm so happy there are many others, and including Meenu ji. Everybody is doing so much. We just don't have that common thread which tells us that there are others, and we're all trying to hit the same goal. So the goalpost is bigger, much, much bigger than what you think in isolation. So great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, in this conversation, I'm realizing that because there was already only an hour, we organized it such that I ask a question and people speak, but it should really have been a conversation among everybody. But it also tells me that we all need to hang out at some point in time. I think we have a lot to talk about. Let's keep the last about 10, 12 minutes that we have and go to Mahesh. Mahesh, you are using an iPad in a very innovative way. I wanted to ask you, how did it occur to you that this is what you should explore? And what are you finding as you explore more in terms of the capability of these devices, which, as Durgaji said, were castigated in terms of, these will never produce the music that people would like type of. Over to you. And if I may say, towards the end of your comments, if you feel like playing a little piece for us, I don't think any of us would mind that.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor for me to be part of such an esteemed panel. So as a kid, I had two interests. One of them was music and the other was technology. And I've always wanted to kind of blend both worlds together. And my primary interest actually was to use technology to present and express musical ideas with a focus on Indian music. So the way I see it, music is a form of expression, and a musical instrument is a tool to express musical ideas. And music doesn't really come from the instrument itself. It comes from the artist that is playing the instrument. That has always been my driving belief. Now, when you look at Indian music or Indian classical music in general, there are traditional tools and instruments that have been developed to play Indian music. For example, instruments like the tabla, the sitar, and the pakhavaj, mridangam. All of these tools have been built in India. But that does not mean that Indian music can only be played by Indian instruments. There have been artists like the great U. Srinivas, Kadri Gopal Nath ji, who have been playing Indian music on instruments like the mandolin, which came from Persia, and the saxophone, which had its roots in jazz. And of course, not to forget that we have the violin, which is a European instrument, which has come to India 200 years ago. And now it's a part of the whole classical music ensemble in Carnatic music. And of course, the violin is such a nice instrument, can be used to play anything. My wife uses it to play Hindustani music. And of course, so as I was saying, the music can be played by any tool or any instrument. Now, my interest is in the digital realm. I was always wondering, okay, I have learned to play the keyboard, the piano, and the synthesizer, but why hasn't there been a digital tool being used to express musical ideas. And now, when I was studying music technology in Scotland, I wanted to explore how Indian music can be played using modern technology and devices. As Durgaji said, technology is an enabler, so there definitely must be a way for people to play Indian music on modern electronic instruments. So I was exploring different instruments back in college, and one thing that I had in my hand at that time was an iPad. And on an iPad there are plenty of applications to play music, and I sparked upon one particular application at that time, and that was called GeoShred. So are you able to see my iPad screen by any chance? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how this app works and my perspective of how I use it to play Indian music. So now you'll see many boxes on the screen. Each box represents a different music note. For example, that is a music note, that's a music note, and I can even play in the black boxes. So these boxes are actually aligned to form part of a musical scale. So if I want to play a major scale, I just set it to a major scale. Or say a minor scale, I can play a minor scale. So the app I'm using right now is called GeoShred, and the iPad is a touch screen. And what I realized with this app that, of course, there are these boxes, but I can also play a note and slide to another note. And this sliding functionality is what excited me. So in Indian music, we have a concept called gamak. In Carnatic music, we call the gamaka. So the sliding functionality gave me an idea saying, okay, I can slide between notes. I can play notes individually. Why not I use the concept of gamaka and play something and develop a technique to play Indian music. So if I may play a few lines, so I'll just show you how this works to play Indian music. It will be a combination of pressing the keys and sliding the keys. So that is how the app works. And of course, I'm playing the notes with my right hand, but this is an iPad. I had to come up with a lot of ways to work around with dynamics as well. So if I just play my right hand, it's all playing at the same volume. There is no force touch capability. So I had to come up with a way to use my left hand to control volume. So if I have to play with dynamics, so I use my left hand to control expression and dynamics. So it's a continuous process of research on how musical ideas can be expressed on this instrument. And there are many other apps that I play, but this is something that I've been working with the developers. We already have all of the 72 Melakarta ragas in Carnatic music, most of the North Indian ragas that are there. So I'm continuously working with the developers to make it more easier to play Indian classical music on this. And that's what I have been doing so far.
Wow, Mahesh, that was lovely. That was lovely and completely mood changing. So, uh, thank you. Thank you all. I wanted to first recap very quickly and tell our startup teams that listen, these people have identified at least a few market segments for you, starting with keeping people glued. Then Minuji talked quite a bit about the folk music and the musical instruments. That's a huge segment, right? Then Srijan talked about ability to do data-driven research, output of the data-driven research. You also asked some really hard questions, and that showed that we'll have to go through a lot of complexity before arriving at the simplicity of somebody consuming all of this. So tremendous amount of work to be done there. And now Mahesh, he has talked about the digital tools to express musical ideas and demonstrated it so beautifully. So once again, may I say a big thank you to all of you for your time and energy, and let us be in touch. And we are committed to, again, doing what we can as the innovation mission to the art and culture of India. So thank you so much, and we will see you again.
I just want to add
Thanks.
one thing, that we all here in the panel definitely look forward and we need your support. If the innovation needs to continue to, if we have to continue to innovate this innovation, and for the performing arts to be, to take these performing arts to innovative heights, newer heights. So we definitely need your support, and I really feel this was one of the best panel discussions I've been on. So thank you very much, and a Jai Ho.
Jai Ho, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
Namaste.
much.
So much.
Thank you.
So Shubham is still going on.
YouTube बंद करवा दी, मैं अपना ऑन करवा रहा हूँ. Yes sir, so that is over now. I'm just giving a signal to the backend team to make it this session live, na?
Okay, okay.
So as soon as I start to speak, it means that we are live, na?
Yeah, sure.
बंदे ने
Hello everyone, very good evening. Welcome to yet another exciting session with Kiran sir and the lovely students here. And today we are coming up with the session called as Handhold Me session. And it is like building your marketing plan for the digital product you have created. And we hope that all of you have enjoyed the journey so far for the Tinkerpreneur and will be enjoying for the further sessions as well. नमस्कार आप सभी को. आज हम एक और एक्साइटिंग सेशन लेके आए हैं किरण सर के साथ और कुछ स्टूडेंट्स के साथ जो आपके साथ अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस भी शेयर करेंगे. और यहाँ पे आज हम बात करेंगे कि कैसे आप अपनी डिजिटल मार्केटिंग कर सकते हैं अपने प्रोडक्ट के लिए. उसमें बहुत सारे अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट्स के बारे में हम बात करेंगे, लाइक बिल्डिंग अ मार्केटिंग फ्लायर, लोगो, नेम, एसेट्रा एसेट्रा. And all of these would be taken up by these students and your mentor Kiran sir. So, Kiran sir, without further ado, so since we have already waited for 20 odd minutes, apologies to everyone. Please start this session and it's now over to you. So, Kiran sir, आप please start कीजिए. And हम सभी को कहना चाहते हैं, क्षमा मांगना चाहते हैं कि हमने 15-20 मिनट्स का जो डिले किया है. So, आपको इंश्योर करते हैं कि नेक्स्ट 40 to 45 मिनट्स में जो भी इस सेशन के ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, we will fulfill that. And please, for any feedback or comment or question, feel free to post it in the comment sections. So, Kiran sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shubham. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone. Hope many of you know me. My name is Kiran Kumar. I'm a regional mentor of change associated with Atal Innovation Mission since the last 4 years. This is our fourth Handhold Me session since we started these sessions every Tuesday since week number 3 of this boot camp. In today's session, we have again 3 Tinkerpreneurs, Sadia, Kavana, and Lavanya. Sadia is a class 9 student from Nagarjuna Model School, Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh. Kavana is a class 8 student from Kendriya Vidyalaya in Bangalore. And Lavanya is a class 7 student from Indus Valley Public School in Noida. Students, can you please say hi to our audience? We'll start with Lavanya.
Hello everyone, I'm Lavanya this side.
Hi everyone, this is Kavana.
Hello everyone, this is Sadia.
Thank you, Lavanya, Kavana, and Sadia. So what we will do is in today's session, we will have the 3 students share with you several examples of digital marketing collaterals or